The alarm lights flickered across the control panels at Galactic Mapping Station Kepler 7. Commander Derek Mason stared at the screens with growing confusion. Something was wrong with the star charts, something he had never seen in his 20 years of service. Dr. Lisa Warren rushed into the command center, her tablet glowing with data streams. She looked worried, which was unusual for the normally calm xenocartographer. Behind her, Lieutenant Jake Holland followed, his face pale. "Commander, we have a problem," Lisa said, pulling up the holographic display. The three-dimensional map of known space materialized between them, spinning slowly. The Valorian survey team just returned. Their mapping systems failed. Derek leaned forward, studying the projection. Large sections of space appeared as gray voids, empty regions where there should have been stars, planets, and navigation routes. "Equipment malfunction?" "That's what we thought at first," Jake said, his fingers dancing across his console. But then the Morpholite cartographers reported the same issue. Then the Kresh. Then the Andromedans. 12 species in total, all experiencing identical problems. Lisa zoomed in on one of the blank areas. They all fail in the same regions. Watch. She overlaid the reports from different species. The gray zones aligned perfectly, creating a massive swath of unmapped territory. Derek felt a chill run down his spine. "Where is this?" "That's the interesting part," Lisa said quietly. "According to our human charts, these are perfectly normal sectors. Mining colonies, trade routes, settled worlds. Nothing unusual." The door hissed open. A tall Valorian entered, his crystalline skin reflecting the room's lights. Keth, the Galactic Council's representative, moved with obvious agitation. His species rarely showed emotion, which made his current state even more concerning. "Commander Mason," Ketha's voice resonated like distant bells. "We require immediate explanation. Your species occupies territories that do not exist on galactic records." Derek exchanged glances with Lisa. "I'm not sure I understand. We file all required colonial claims and reports." "You misunderstand," Keth said, his form shifting through colors that indicated stress. "We are not speaking of paperwork. We speak of reality itself. Our sensors cannot detect what lies within human space. Our ships cannot map your territories. When we attempt to chart your regions, our instruments show nothing. Emptiness. Void." Jake pulled up communication logs. "Sir, I'm seeing similar reports from across the galaxy. The Concordia Prime Council is demanding answers. Some species are calling it a human deception." Lisa worked her console, bringing up comparative data. "Commander, I think I understand what's happening. Look at this." She displayed two maps side by side. One showed human navigation charts, dense with information and detail. The other showed the same region from a Valorian perspective, completely blank. "Our mapping systems use quantum entanglement protocols," Lisa explained. "We developed them independently, before first contact. The rest of the galaxy uses gravitational wave mapping. The technologies don't interface. They can't see what we see because they're not looking at space the same way we are." Ketha's colors shifted to deep purple. "You are saying your entire civilization exists in spaces we cannot perceive?" "Not exactly," Derek said carefully. "We're there. We've always been there. Your equipment just can't read our navigation markers or tracking systems. To you, it looks like blank space." "How large are these blank regions?" Keth asked. Lisa pulled up the full comparison. The room fell silent. Human space, when properly displayed, stretched across regions the galactic community had barely explored. Hundreds of systems, thousands of colonies, all invisible to alien sensors. "This is impossible," Keth whispered. "Your species arrived at galactic civilization only 2 centuries ago. You claimed minimal territories. You were considered a minor power." Derek felt the weight of the moment. "We never claimed to be minor. We simply answered the questions we were asked. As for territory, we've been expanding steadily. Filing claims, following protocols. Did anyone ever ask us how far we'd spread?" Jake checked the records. "Sir, there are requests here from human diplomatic offices. Dating back 80 years. invitations for alien observers to tour human space, offers to share navigational data, requests for territorial boundary discussions. Most were never answered. Ketha's color drained to pale white. We did not think to ask. Your species seemed so small. We are not small, Derek said quietly. We just don't make much noise. The holographic display continued to spin, showing the truth the galaxy had missed. Human space stretched far and wide, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to simply ask the right questions. Outside the station, ships from a dozen alien species gathered, their sensors sweeping uselessly across the void, unable to see what had been there all along. Captain Ryan Porter guided his scout ship through the asteroid field with practiced ease. The rocks here were rich with metals, and human mining operations dotted the region like stars. He had made this run 100 times, ferrying supplies to the outer colonies. His co-pilot, a young officer named Danny Hayes, monitored the sensors. Captain, we're being scanned again. Looks like another Kresh observation vessel. Ryan shrugged. Let them look. They won't find anything their equipment can recognize. Light years away, on the colony world of New Dakota, Angela Price stood on the observation deck of the main settlement. Below her, a city of 50,000 people went about their daily lives. Farms stretched to the horizon, factories hummed with production, and children played in parks under the orange sky. Her assistant handed her a data pad. Administrator, we're receiving inquiries from the Galactic Council. They're asking if this colony is registered. Angela smiled. Of course it is. We filed the claim in 2791. 56 years ago. Check the records. They say they have no record of it. Then they lost it. Not our problem. We followed every protocol. Even invited inspectors 3 times. Nobody came. Angela watched a transport shuttle descend toward the spaceport. We're not hiding. We're just living our lives. On Concordia Prime, the galactic capital, Ethan Cross faced a room full of angry alien diplomats. The human liaison officer stood calm despite the shouts and accusations filling the chamber. A Morpholite ambassador slammed his appendage on the table. You have deceived the Council. Hidden territories. Concealed your true strength. Ethan waited for the noise to die down. We have hidden nothing. Every human colony filed proper claims with the Galactic Registry. Every settlement submitted the required documentation. We attended every mandatory session. Then why do our records show human space as a fraction of what you claim? Demanded a Kresh representative. Because you didn't look at our submissions, Ethan said simply. He activated a holographic display. These are our colonial claim forms. Dated, stamped, approved by automated council systems. 2,417 individual filings over the past 130 years. The room fell silent as the documents scrolled past. You assumed we were small, Ethan continued. You assumed we would stay small. When we sent representatives to discuss territorial boundaries, you didn't schedule meetings. When we invited observers to our expansion efforts, nobody came. When we requested updates to the official galactic maps, our requests were marked as low priority. A Valorian diplomat's colors shifted nervously. We believed humans controlled perhaps 80 systems. We control 743, Ethan said. We inhabit 2016 worlds when you count mining operations and research stations. We have been transparent about this. You simply never asked for details. Back in the asteroid field, Ryan's ship approached a massive space station. The structure was purely human in design, angular and efficient. Hundreds of ships docked at its ports, and manufacturing facilities produced everything from starship components to medical supplies. How long has this station been here? Danny asked. 40 years, Ryan answered. Started as a small mining platform. Grew over time. Now it's a major trade hub. But it's not on any galactic charts. It's on our charts. That's what matters. We trade with 17 different alien species here. They just fly to coordinates we give them. Never occurred to them to ask how long we've been operating. Angela received another message on New Dakota. The Council wanted to send an inspection team immediately. She authorized it, amused. They would find exactly what she told them, a thriving human colony that had existed openly for decades. She thought about her grandmother's stories. The old woman had been among the first settlers here, arriving when Angela was just a baby. They had built this world with their own hands, following every rule, filing every form. "We didn't sneak around," her grandmother had often said. "We just worked while others talked." Ethan fielded more questions at the council. "How did you build so much without anyone noticing?" "You noticed," he replied. "You just didn't think it was important. Human trade ships have been visiting alien ports for a century. Human merchants have been doing business across the galaxy for decades. We were everywhere. In plain sight. You saw us as insignificant, so you didn't pay attention." An elder Andromedian finally spoke, his voice heavy with understanding. "We ignored you." "Yes," Ethan said. "And we didn't correct your assumptions. We didn't boast. We didn't demand recognition. We simply continued our work." "Why?" asked the Morpholite. "Because we learned long ago that being underestimated is sometimes an advantage. But more than that, we were busy. We had worlds to build, families to raise, futures to create. We didn't need your approval or your attention. We needed you to stay out of our way, and by thinking we were small, you did exactly that." Ryan docked his ship at the station. Through the viewport, he could see dozens of human vessels and a handful of alien traders. This was normal life in human space, the daily reality the galaxy had somehow missed. The truth was spreading now, rippling through alien civilizations. Humanity was not the minor species they had believed. The question was no longer how humans had hidden their expansion. The question was why no one had bothered to look. Dr. Benjamin Cole stood before the holographic display in the Mars Research Complex, explaining quantum navigation to a room full of confused alien scientists. The Valorian physicist beside him kept changing colors, a sign of deep cognitive stress. "The principle is simple," Benjamin said, adjusting the display. "You map space using gravitational waves. We map space using quantum entanglement. Your sensors look for mass and energy. Ours look for quantum signatures." "But why?" asked a Morpholite researcher. "Gravitational mapping has been the galactic standard for millennia." Benjamin smiled. "Because we didn't know that when we developed our system. We were alone, working from first principles. By the time we met you, our entire infrastructure was built on quantum protocols. Converting would have cost trillions and decades of work." Nicole Grant watched the exchange from her office at Military Intelligence Headquarters. Her screens showed reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Panic, confusion, fear. The alien powers were realizing that humanity possessed technology they couldn't detect or understand. Her secure line blinked. Admiral Frank Mitchell's face appeared. "Grant, I need your assessment. How bad is this going to get?" Nicole pulled up her analysis. "Sir, 23 alien governments have elevated their threat assessment of humanity. The Kresh Dominion is moving fleets to our borders. The Concordia Council is debating emergency measures. They're scared. Of what? Our navigation systems. Of what else we might be hiding. If we concealed our territorial extent, what else don't they know about us?" Nicole highlighted several intelligence reports. "They're asking questions now. How many ships do we have? What weapons systems? What defensive capabilities? And they're not finding answers because we use different technologies." Benjamin's presentation continued. "Our ships navigate by quantum waypoints. We create entangled particle pairs, place one at a destination, and follow the connection. Your sensors can't detect this because they're not designed to look for quantum states." "This is a security risk," a Kresh military observer growled. "Your vessels can move through our space undetected." "We could always do that," Benjamin said calmly. "We've been trading with your worlds for 80 years. Our merchant ships passed through Kresh territory weekly. You never noticed because you weren't looking for quantum signatures." Admiral Mitchell addressed his senior staff. Around the conference table sat the top military minds of the Terran Federation. "Gentlemen, ladies, we have a situation. Half the galaxy thinks we've been spying on them. The other half thinks we're planning an invasion. Neither is true, but perception matters. A tactical officer spoke up. Sir, the Kresh have positioned 3 battle groups near the Outer Rim colonies. They're running aggressive scans. Let them scan, Mitchell said. They won't find anything useful. But we need to de-escalate this. We're not looking for a war. Nicole sent her report to the Council. The data was clear. Humanity had developed parallel technological paths in dozens of fields. Not because they were trying to hide, but because they had started from different foundations. Human computers used different architecture. Human communications relied on different principles. Human medicine approached problems from unique angles. The galaxy was realizing that first contact with humanity had been more complicated than anyone understood. They hadn't encountered a primitive species learning galactic standards. They had encountered a separate technological civilization with its own sophisticated systems. Benjamin fielded more questions. Can you map our space using your systems? Theoretically, yes. But you would need to install quantum sensors on all your ships and stations. The equipment cost alone would bankrupt most governments. And you would need to recalibrate everything you think you know about navigation. This is unacceptable, the Kresh observer declared. One species cannot operate outside galactic norms. We're not outside your norms, Benjamin replied. We're operating on our own norms. There's a difference. We don't demand you change your systems. We simply use ours. At the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions ran day and night. Chairman Vex, an ancient morpholite who had seen centuries of galactic politics, listened to the debates with growing concern. They have been watching us, a young Valorian diplomat insisted. Their sensors see what ours cannot. This represents an intelligence advantage. Or we have been ignorant, Vex said quietly. Perhaps the advantage was always there, and we simply refused to acknowledge it. Nicole's intelligence networks picked up disturbing chatter. Some alien factions saw this as an opportunity. If humanity was stronger than believed, then they needed to be dealt with before they became too powerful. The Kresh Dominion was chief among the agitators. Admiral Mitchell reviewed defensive positions. If they come, we're ready. But I don't want to fire the first shot. Sir, his aide said carefully, they don't know we're ready. They can't scan our defensive networks. I know, Mitchell said. And that uncertainty might be what keeps them from doing something stupid. Or it might be what pushes them over the edge. Benjamin's presentation concluded with a simple demonstration. He activated a quantum scanner and displayed local space. The alien scientists saw hundreds of signals they had never detected before. Human ships, human stations, human satellites, all invisible to standard galactic sensors. This has been here the entire time, Benjamin said. You were swimming in an ocean of human activity and never knew it. Not because we hid it, but because you were looking with the wrong instruments. The room emptied slowly, alien scientists departing in stunned silence. Benjamin closed down his displays and sighed. Nicole's prediction was coming true. Fear was spreading. And fear made people dangerous. On the borders of human space, ships gathered. Alien vessels running constant scans, searching for threats they couldn't see. Human vessels watching quietly, wondering if their long peace was about to end. The technology gap was real. But the perception gap was wider. And in the vast darkness between stars, gaps like that could ignite wars. Ambassador Kelly Richards walked through the grand halls of Concordia Prime with measured steps. The Galactic Council building soared above her, a monument to unity among the stars. Today, that unity felt fragile. Vice Admiral Danny Cooper followed 2 steps behind, his uniform crisp despite the long journey. Ma'am, the council chamber is packed. Every species sent their full delegations. This is unprecedented. Kelly nodded. They're frightened. Frightened people need truth, not platitudes. Inside the chamber, thousands of alien representatives filled the curved tiers. The noise was deafening, a cacophony of different languages and emotional states. Chairman Vex sat at the center podium, his ancient form still and patient. Ambassador Richards, Vex's voice cut through the chaos. The council recognizes the human delegation. Kelly stepped to the speaker's platform. The chamber fell silent. Thousands of eyes, some human, most alien, focused on her. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, "I stand before you not to apologize, but to clarify. There seems to be confusion about humanity's presence in this galaxy." A Kresh delegate interrupted. "You concealed your true extent from this council." "No," Kelly said firmly. "We filed every required document, attended every mandatory session, followed every protocol. What we did not do was advertise our growth or boast about our achievements. There is no law requiring such behavior." She activated a holographic display. "I present to you the Human Colonial Registry. Every claim, every filing, every notification sent to the Council's automated systems over the past 130 years. The display filled with documents. Thousands of them. All properly formatted, dated, and stamped with Council approval codes. 2,417 colonial claims," Kelly continued. "All approved. All legal. All public record. Did anyone here ever review them?" The silence was her answer. Danny stepped forward, adding new data to the display. "These are invitations sent from human diplomatic offices to council members. Requests for meetings to discuss territorial boundaries. Offers to share navigational data. Invitations for observers to visit human space." He highlighted dates. First invitation sent in 2767, 80 years ago. Follow-up requests sent quarterly for 3 decades. Response rate, 0%. A Valorian representative stood. "We received these communications." "You did," Danny confirmed. "They were routed through proper channels. Filed under Human Affairs. Most remained unread." Chairman Vex accessed the historical database himself. The ancient Morpholite's colors shifted as he reviewed decades of ignored messages. "This is accurate," he said quietly. "The human delegation attempted contact numerous times. We did not respond." Kelly let the information settle. "We are often asked why we did not demand attention. The answer is simple. We were busy building our civilization. We did not need your approval to exist. We needed you to process our paperwork, which your automated systems did efficiently." "But you knew," a Morpholite diplomat argued. "You knew we thought you were smaller than you are." "Yes," Kelly admitted. "And we did not correct your assumptions. Is there a law requiring us to educate you about our capabilities? A regulation demanding we announce our population? A treaty obligating us to update you on our expansion?" She pulled up the Galactic Charter. Article 47. Each species maintains sovereignty over internal affairs. Article 62. Territorial claims processed through automated registry systems. Article 109. Member species are not required to share classified information about military or economic capacity. "We followed your own laws," Kelly said. "Every single one. The problem is not that we hid from you. The problem is that you did not look." An elder Andromedian rose slowly. "Ambassador Richards, help us understand. Why did humans develop separately? Why not adopt galactic standard technologies?" Kelly's expression softened. "Because when we developed our quantum navigation systems, we did not know you existed. We were alone, solving our own problems with our own methods. By the time we met you, we had invested a century of work and trillions of credits into our infrastructure. Converting to your standards would have crippled our economy for generations. And you chose not to. We chose to continue with systems that worked for us. Just as you continue with systems that work for you. We coexist. We trade. We communicate. The technologies are different, but they function." Danny brought up new data. "These are records of human merchant vessels visiting alien ports over the past century. Thousands of documented visits. Billions of credits in trade. All conducted openly, using human ships that your sensors could not properly track." "You traded with us while remaining invisible?" Akresh asked. "You traded with us knowing we existed," Danny corrected. "You simply did not think to ask how we navigated to your worlds. You were content to take our goods and our currency." Chairman Vex reviewed more historical records. "Ambassador, I am finding evidence of human participation in 17 major galactic trade conferences. Your representatives attended, presented data on human economic activity, even submitted proposals. That's correct. And these were largely ignored. Also correct. We were considered too minor to matter. Our proposals were filed away. Our data was dismissed. We learned that trying to force your attention was futile. So we stopped trying and focused on our own development. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species felt ashamed. Others remained angry. The Kresh delegation huddled together, their expressions dark. Kelly waited for the noise to subside. The galaxy is changing, she said. You now know the truth about human space. You now understand that we are not the small, insignificant species you believed. The question is, what happens next? Will you share your technology? Someone asked. We trade technology regularly, Kelly replied. At fair market prices. Just as you do. Will you submit to council inspections? We will welcome council observers, as we have invited them for 80 years. They are free to visit any public human facility. What about your military capabilities? Kelly smiled slightly. We maintain defensive forces appropriate to our territorial extent, just as every species does. We are not required to disclose specific capabilities, just as you are not required to disclose yours. Chairman Vex stood. The council will recess to consider this information. Ambassador Richards, you have given us much to contemplate. As the chamber emptied, Danny leaned close to Kelly. Think they'll accept it? Most will, Kelly said. Some won't. The Kresh are already planning something. I can see it in their delegation's body language. War. Maybe. Or maybe just aggressive posturing. Either way, we need to be ready. Outside, the stars shone with the same light they always had. But now, the galaxy looked at human space and saw something different. The blank spaces on their maps were filled. The questions were asked. And the answers changed everything. Commander Helen Briggs sat in the control center of Defense Platform Sentinel-9, watching her screens with practiced calm. The massive station hung in space at the edge of human territory, one of hundreds of defensive installations the galaxy had never known existed. Lieutenant Craig Morris monitored the early warning systems. Commander, we have movement. Kresh Dominion ships crossing the disputed zone. 12 vessels, battle configuration. Helen keyed her communications. How close to the border? 3 million kilometers and closing. They're running active scans. Let them look, Helen said. Activate passive tracking. I want to know where every one of those ships is at all times. Light years away, President Laura Hughes stood in the Situation Room beneath the Terran Federation capital. Around her, military advisors and diplomatic staff monitored the developing crisis. Screens showed Kresh fleet positions, communication intercepts, and probability assessments. Madam President, her chief of staff said quietly, the Kresh are testing us. They want to know if we're really as prepared as we claim. Laura nodded. Then we show them. But we don't fire first. Understood. Yes, ma'am. The Kresh ships advanced. Their commander, a veteran officer named Drex, studied his scanners with frustration. The region ahead should be empty space according to galactic charts. But his instincts told him otherwise. Scan patterns show no human presence, his tactical officer reported. Your scans are worthless here, Drex growled. The humans are there. We just cannot see them. He ordered his fleet forward. They would force the humans to reveal themselves. Helen watched the Kresh vessels enter the restricted zone. They're not stopping. Craig, light them up. Craig activated the tracking systems. Suddenly, the Kresh scanners went wild. Hundreds of quantum signatures appeared around them. Defense platforms, minefields, weapon satellites, all previously invisible, all now announcing their presence. Drex stared at his displays in shock. His ships were surrounded. The empty space he had entered was actually a dense network of human defenses. How long had these been here? Kresh vessels, Helen's voice came through on an open channel. You have entered restricted Terran Federation space. You are currently inside our defensive perimeter. Withdraw immediately, or we will interpret your presence as hostile action. Drex checked his tactical display. His weapons were targeted by at least 40 different defense platforms. If fighting started, his fleet would be destroyed in minutes. Withdraw, he ordered. His ships turned and retreated. The quantum signatures vanished from his sensors as quickly as they had appeared, fading back into invisibility. President Hughes watched the Kresh fleet pull back. Good. That should send a message. We're peaceful, but we're not defenseless. Across human space, similar encounters were occurring. Alien scouts and observers were discovering that human territory was not undefended. It had never been undefended. The defenses had simply been invisible. Jack Sullivan piloted his freighter through a busy trade corridor near the Valorian border. His ship was old, battered, and filled with cargo from a dozen different worlds. He was one of thousands of independent human traders who had been crisscrossing the galaxy for decades. His co-pilot, a young woman named Katie Moore, reviewed their delivery schedule. Next stop is Valorian Station 12. They're asking how long we've been trading with them. Jack laughed. Tell them 32 years. My father ran this route before me. His father before him. We've been coming here since before I was born. They seemed surprised. They never asked before. Took our deliveries, paid our fees, never wondered how a minor species managed such reliable service. At Valorian Station 12, the administrator reviewed records with growing astonishment. Human traders had been visiting for nearly a century. Thousands of transactions, all properly documented in the station's database, all ignored because no one thought to analyze the data. Similar discoveries were happening across the galaxy. Human businesses operated on hundreds of alien worlds. Human traders serviced routes through dozens of territories. Human engineers worked on projects in systems far from Earth. All in plain sight. All documented. All ignored. President Hughes prepared for her address. The speech would be broadcast across human space and transmitted to every major alien government. She needed to get this right. She stepped before the cameras. My fellow humans, and to our galactic neighbors who are listening, I speak to you today about trust and assumptions. For generations, humanity has been underestimated. We were seen as small, weak, insignificant. We did not fight this perception. We simply continued our work. But today, the galaxy knows the truth. We are not small. We are 743 settled systems strong. We are not weak. Our defensive networks are robust and capable. We are not insignificant. Our economy touches every corner of known space. Some ask why we concealed this. We did not. We filed our paperwork, attended our meetings, followed every law. What we did not do was demand attention or respect. We earned it through quiet achievement. To those who feel threatened by this revelation, I say this: we seek peace. We have always sought peace. Our expansion has been peaceful. Our trade has been fair. Our presence has been legal. We will continue on this path. But do not mistake our preference for peace as weakness. We will defend ourselves. We will protect our citizens. We will maintain our sovereignty. These are not threats. They are facts. Jack Sullivan docked his freighter at the Valorian station. He had made this run hundreds of times. Nothing had changed for him except that now people were finally paying attention. A Valorian customs officer approached him. Captain Sullivan, you have been trading here for 3 decades? That's right. And we never knew. Jack shrugged. You knew I existed. You processed my cargoes, stamped my permits. You just didn't think I mattered enough to remember. The officer's colors shifted to embarrassed green. I apologize. No need. I got paid, you got your goods, everyone was happy. Attention isn't always good for business anyway. The galaxy was adjusting to its new reality. The Galactic Council convened new sessions, this time actually reading human submissions. Trade agreements were renegotiated with humans as equal partners. Territorial boundaries were properly discussed and documented. Chairman Vex addressed the council chambers. We have learned a valuable lesson. Assumptions create blind spots. We assumed humanity was minor, so we did not look closely. We assumed our technology was superior, so we did not question our limitations. We assumed silence meant insignificance, so we did not listen. The humans did not trick us. They did not deceive us. They simply existed while we refused to see them. This is our failure, not theirs. Helen Briggs watched more ships approach her sector, these ones diplomatic vessels requesting permission to visit human facilities. She approved them. Transparency was the path forward now. Craig pulled up the latest reports. Commander, the updated galactic maps are being distributed. Human space is properly shown for the first time. Helen looked at the display. Humanity's territory stretched across the stars, no longer blank spaces but fully detailed regions. The maps had been corrected. The charts were filled in. The questions had been asked and answered. Good, she said. Maybe now we can all move forward together. In the vast darkness between stars, human ships continued their journeys. Traders and explorers, colonists and merchants, all going about their daily lives. They had always been there. The galaxy had simply learned to see them.